before we begin the story, don't forget to hit that like button and tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. It was a scorching late afternoon in the town of Silver Creek, the sun casting long, harsh shadows across the dusty streets. The wooden storefronts seemed to groan under the heat, their boards curling in protest as the wind lifted dust from the parched earth. Each passing wagon sent more dirt swirling into the air, making it seem like the town itself was suffocating. But in the midst of this dry wasteland, a solitary figure moved against the wind, a woman, walking alone, dressed in worn clothes, her skin covered in layers of dust and sweat. This was Nalin, an Apache woman, her road-weary face carrying a sense of both defiance and exhaustion. For 2 days, she had walked the unforgiving terrain, her water bottle long emptied and her stomach hollow. But what drove her was a simple desire, a bath, to wash away the grime and feel human once more. As she moved through Silver Creek, doors slammed shut one after another. The town didn't take kindly to strangers, especially not someone like her. With only 3 crumpled dollar bills in her pocket, Nalin had little to offer, but her need for a wash was undeniable. Yet, every door she knocked on had been met with silence or cold rejection. She had just about given up when she reached the last house at the edge of town. It was a small ranch, quiet and unassuming. No children running around, no barking dogs. Just a man's solitary home, his routine seemingly untouched by the outside world. Hesitant but determined, Nalin lifted her hand and knocked. Inside, Reed Walker, a man who had long since turned his back on town gossip and its people, heard the knock and froze. He had lived alone for years since his wife Martha had passed away, the silence of his home becoming a comfortable companion. He wasn't expecting anyone, certainly not a woman, much less an Apache. He opened the door cautiously, and his eyes met hers. She stood before him, dust in her hair, her body weary from travel, but her gaze unwavering. "I have $3, Nalin said, her voice hoarse and dry. "I just need a wash." Reed's jaw tightened. He had lived in Silver Creek long enough to know how the town felt about people like her. He had seen the whispers, the sideways glances, and heard the sharp words behind closed doors. He could turn her away, but something in her voice, the rawness, the determination, stopped him. He couldn't do it. Not today. Without saying much, he stepped aside and gestured for her to come in. Nalin hesitated, but the relief on her face was undeniable as she stepped past him and into the dimly lit cabin. She had come a long way, and for the first time in days, she felt like she could rest. Reed didn't speak much as he set to work. He boiled water and placed a basin on the table, adding soap and towels. There was something about the way he moved, methodical and deliberate, that made Nalin feel like this was more than just charity. It was respect. For the first time in a while, she let her guard down, just a little. As Nalin washed, Reed moved quietly around the cabin, the silence between them thick with unspoken questions. Why had he opened the door? Why had she knocked? When the water in the basin turned murky with dust, Reed took the basin outside to dispose of it. Nalin, now clean but still wearing the weight of her journey, retrieved the $3 from the table, offering them to Reed. "I keep my word," she said, placing the money before him. Reed looked at the money, then back at her, his hand hovering over it. The hesitation was there. Should he take it? He had opened the door, yes, but there was something more at play here, something he hadn't expected. "Keep it," he said quietly. "Water and soap aren't worth $3. Nalin's face softened, her pride evident but not overbearing. "Then I'll work for it," she said. "I can sweep, scrub a basin, hang the towels." Reed was taken aback, but didn't argue. For the first time in years, the house felt different. Not empty, not lonely. It felt lived in. And Nalin wasn't just a guest. She was a presence. She was here, and that, Reed realized, was something he had long since stopped hoping for. As the night fell, the two of them shared a simple meal together. Bread and beans, just enough to quiet the hunger. They sat in the dim light of the stove, the air outside still, the fire crackling between them. Reed couldn't help but feel the weight of his own silence, the years of solitude, and yet for once he didn't mind the quiet. Nalin had questions too, but they came slowly. Why do they watch you differently in town? She asked, not accusing, just curious. Reed set his cup down slowly. I was the one they leaned on, he said. Before Martha died, people came to me for help, for advice. Since then, I stopped going into town. People don't like when you pull back. They take it personally. Nalin nodded, her gaze steady. I understand. The next day, as the town began to notice Nalin's presence more and more, Reed felt the weight of their stares. It wasn't just her presence that bothered them. It was the change it represented. It wasn't long before Sheriff Pike paid a visit, as the council had demanded he check in on the arrangement. Reed stood firm, defending his choice, while Nalin stood silently beside him. The strength in her presence undeniable. By the time the sheriff left, the tension between them had loosened, if only slightly. Reed had made a stand, and Nalin had proved she could handle the weight of town gossip. As they went about their day, Reed realized that the choice was no longer about them surviving in the shadows. It was about standing together, no matter what the town said. By the end of the week, the house had become more than just Reed's. It was theirs. And as the sun set that evening, Reed realized that letting someone in wasn't the mistake he had feared. It was the start of something new, something he didn't have to face alone anymore.